So in this business, you never know where your opportunities are going to come from, and this next one was kind of amazing. So I get a call from my agent, and they said, we have an audition for you for a commercial. And so I go in for the commercial, and I look at the sides, and there's no video. It's just reading. And so they bring me into a room, and they have me read the dialogue, and I book the job. So this was my first voiceover gig. So voiceovers were a very big business back in the day, and they still are, but back in the 1980s, there weren't a lot of people doing voiceovers. Now, anybody with an internet connection and a snowball microphone can be doing voiceovers, and a lot of them are. But back then, you had to go to the casting person, you had to go to the studio, and all of that means that you had to be in Los Angeles or New York. So there was not a lot of people doing voiceovers. So when I got this voiceover, it was very exciting. And I went into the studio, and when you do a voiceover, all you do is you stand in front of a microphone and you read your dialogue. And I'm loving this because the script is right in front of me. I don't have to memorize anything. All I have to do is say what's literally written in front of me. It's a pretty perfect job. So then completely randomly, that next weekend, I was at a barbecue for this casting director, Chauncey Pierce. Now, I know I tell Hollywood stories, but again, this was like a barbecue in someone's backyard over some charcoal briquettes and kind of warm beers. This was not a Hollywood party. So I'm in the backyard and I'm talking to Chauncey, who is this casting director. And then this other guy comes up to me and he starts talking to me. And he goes, yeah, listen, you worked with a client of mine and I'm interested in talking to you. And the client that he was telling me about was the guy that I worked with on this voiceover. And he goes, well, why don't you come and meet with our agency and see if you'd like to join up? So I go to this guy's office, I meet with him, I meet with his boss, and I sign on to do voiceovers. And because I don't follow things too closely, I didn't really realize what had just happened to me. Now, the guy that I had worked with in the studio was another actor. He had glasses on, he had his headphones on, and I didn't really recognize him. But it turned out that the guy that I've been working with was Dick Sargent, the second Darrin from Bewitched. And oh my gosh, I totally recognize this guy now, but at the studio, I didn't recognize him. And the office that I had just met this new guy, this new agent in, was Don Pitt's Voices, which at the time was the most successful agency for voices. And the agent who had brought me in there from this backyard barbecue was a guy by the name of Paul Doherty. Now, if you know anything about the voiceover industry, the number one agency right now is CESD, and the D is Paul Doherty. So he was a junior agent then, back in the late 80s, early 90s, who thought that maybe a young voice like mine could make it in this business. He got me so much great work. He got me the job on Spider-Man.
Whoever on earth gave you that idea, Flash?
Well, I thought that... Parker, Felicia and I need to talk. So why don't you crawl back under your rock?
He got me the job being the voice of DiGiorno Pizza.
For fresh baked pizza at home, it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
He got me the job of being the voice of the WB, saying,
all new Steve Harvey, actor in all new weigh-ins.
Now the industry changes, times change, technology changes, but I'm still with Paul Doherty, the same guy who found me in that backyard. And thanks to Dick Sargent, the second Darrin on Bewitched, he introduced me to Paul Doherty, and I'm still with him 40 years later.